Okay, I think we're good to go ahead and get started. Okay, so good afternoon and welcome to the CCSQ DNA Town Hall. For those of you who are new, these calls are designed to provide you with updates, announcements, and training demos related to the CDR, SAS Viya, Databricks, and more. So before we get started today, we are going to cover some administrative reminders. Please remember to stay muted during our call to minimize interruptions. Please use the Zoom chat to ask any questions to be answered during our Q&A portion after our presenters present. And then all meeting materials will be made available on the Confluence space after the event. And actually, this needs to be updated. This is our first month where we're fully transitioning from our public Confluence space over to the portal events. As you know, DNA portal, we've been making that transition, but officially for Town Hall, we are leaping over there this month. So all of the links we've been sharing are for portal, and the ones that will be shared out after the event will also be in portal. So all meeting notes, recordings, and slides will all be there. So with that, let's go over today's agenda. So first we have information on Databricks job cluster preview. Then we're moving into the monthly satisfaction survey review and dropping the link for the new September monthly satisfaction survey. Then information on SAS Viya transition resources. And finally, we'll be wrapping up today with Databricks file management and a file storage demo with Dan. And then time allowing, we will have our Q&A portion. So with that, I'm going to pass things over to Ron so he can give us some more information.
Thank you, Julia. So today I'll be introducing the Databricks job cluster. It's a feature that our team's been working on, and it should be available here in the coming month. Could you go to the next slide, please? All right, so what is job clusters, right? Job cluster provides a dedicated environment for running your jobs, ensuring better performance and fewer limitations. Today I'll just go over how it will improve and the benefits that you will experience once the feature is live. And current challenges that we have. Many of you have experienced challenges with our current shared cluster setup. Job slowdowns when multiple users running jobs on the same cluster. Shared resources like memory and CPU can slow down your tasks. Limited scalability, larger jobs may hit resource limits of shared clusters, leading to delays or failures. Unpredicted performance, because resources are shared, job performance can vary, making it hard to predict how long the task will take to complete. With job cluster, it will enhance your experience. Job cluster addresses these challenges by giving each job its own dedicated cluster, no competition for resources. Your jobs will run without interference from other users' workload, and you are able to run larger jobs because job cluster can support more complex resource-intensive tasks, improving your ability to scale. Consistent performance with a dedicated environment, you'll experience predictable, reliable job execution every time. User benefits, when job cluster is launched, here's how they will benefit you as an end user. Faster job execution. With dedicated resources, your jobs will run faster and won't slow down due to competing resources. Improve scalability. You can definitely confidently run larger jobs that might not fit in on a shared cluster. And then, of course, the consistent job performance, the variability in job performance caused by shared cluster will be gone, giving you more predictable results. So in conclusion, what to expect here in the coming months. Job cluster will be available here in a few months. Keep an eye for updates and training on how to make the most of this new feature. The feature will enhance your workflow by providing faster, more consistent performance, better support for larger jobs. Of course, we will provide support during the transition once the feature is live, ensuring that you can quickly start benefiting from this new capability. That's it. Thank you, Julia.
Thanks, Ron. Okay, so with that, we are going to move to our monthly satisfaction survey review with Miriam. So I'm going to pass things over to her now.
Hello, if you could just go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so our August satisfaction rates, we had 50% or 57% of the responses that we received back were satisfied with the performance and uptime of the environment, which was a pretty drastic decrease from July. It was a 23% decrease. So we're looking into what caused this drop so that we can address it and make sure that it doesn't drop like that again. Our help desk satisfaction was at 71%, which was a 21% increase from July. So it seems like our updated steps that we've taken have been helpful, and we're seeing some changes. And then we had 57% overall satisfaction with resources available within the data and analytics portal. This was a 13% decrease from July. Also looking into this, we did receive some feedback indicating that users, you would like to see more advanced material. So we're looking into what kind of KBs we can provide at a more advanced level. If you go to the next slide, please. Some positive praise and feedback that we received, again, with the environment. Is one person indicated that things have gotten better with Databricks, and that they're excited to see SAS Spark to SAS packages finally being available. We did receive some feedback that there were some issues with resolution around help desk tickets, that they are getting resolved quicker. Sorry. And then from a resource standpoint, one response back was overall it's great. Thankful for this resource and everyone that works on this effort. So next slide, please. Some suggestions and improvement that we received from the survey from the environment. The big one being for Databricks is fixing the underlying problem with the macro. So we are looking into figuring out that. From a help desk standpoint, trying to keep track of tickets or going back and forth to find information from tickets or Slack conversations is difficult due to the multiple channels and disorganization. This is an area we are still trying to improve on so that you have a central location for your help desk tickets and communications on them. And then training material. Some of the improvements that we received or suggestions we received was to add more QuickSight material and then more advanced Databricks material. So we are looking into that, and we'll collaborate with Databricks or QuickSight to put some more material together. Next slide, please. So again, action items that we've taken is that for performance and uptime, the team continues to proactively work to resolve system issues when they come up, and make enhancements so that they stabilize the environment more. From a help desk standpoint, we are looking into ways to ensure, as I mentioned earlier, that all the details and communications are tracked in that central location to avoid having to check multiple locations. And we also have created a new report to track help desk tickets that haven't been commented on within the past 24 hours so that we ensure that responses are happening in a timely fashion. And then available resources, again, looking into providing more advanced material for Databricks. And then just as a reminder, we do have the office hour sessions that we're still holding. We will continue to keep holding these sessions until you guys tell us you don't want them anymore. But otherwise, if you are unable to join the first session, we do provide all that content, just like Townhall. We publish it out to Portal along with the recording and any material that was used. But we do hold repeat sessions. So if you weren't able to join that original session, we do hold repeat sessions, and those sessions, the capacity is 50 participants versus new sessions at 25. Next slide, please. So of course, we value your feedback. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to fill out the survey. The more responses that we get, the better idea we have of where we're headed and what areas we need to improve on. With the last survey, I think overall we had roughly 60 responses. There's usually close to 200 people. Today there's almost 200 people on the call. So please, if you have the time to take the survey, it is very valuable to us, and it does help us make sure that we're improving and providing the best system and support available to you guys. So just as a reminder, please fill out that survey if you can. The more responses, the better. And I think, yep, Laura just dropped the link to the survey in there. I think we can go to the next slide. This is just covering the monthly satisfaction survey. Julia, do you want to speak to this, or you want me to cover it?
I can do that part if you want. Okay, so thank you, Miriam. This is just some notes on the monthly satisfaction survey. So the survey, as Miriam said, lets us know how we can improve your experience within the CCSQ DNA environment and community. The results will be used to update and improve our tools, trainings, and offerings. The survey link will be shared in the Zoom chat, which Laura did just drop that in. We encourage you to take the survey as soon as our meeting ends. The survey will remain open until the end of the day today. And then please only submit a survey if you are a user within our CCSQ DNA environment. And as a reminder, the survey is anonymous, but by providing your contact information for us, it does allow us to reach out to you and provide support where needed. So if you're addressing a problem or need extra support by giving us your contact information, we can definitely follow up with that. As Miriam said, we really do value the feedback. So please make sure you're doing that so we can get as much information from our users as possible. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Miriam now. And Miriam, you're screen sharing for this one, correct? I should drop.
Yes, correct.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. All right, are you all able to see the SAS Viya transition resources page within Portal?
Yes.
Perfect, okay. And this is a link we'll provide as well. This is, we started this back, it's been a while now since we started the conversations for the SAS transition. We wanted to have a central point for you to have as much resources available as possible to help with the transition from SAS to Databricks. Nothing drastically new here other than some of the feedback that we received was having the notebooks a little bit easier instead of having to search through different office hour topics or within the Q&A. So what we've done is we've added this section of shared notebooks here, specifically the fall data camp, the spring data camp, any of the Databricks demos that have happened either in town halls or data camps or office hours. I apologize, office hour notebooks are separate from the DBX demo. So we have those 4 locations with all the available notebooks in one area. These links will take you directly to that folder, so you don't have to search around for it. And as we keep building this page, we will add more information based on feedback or anything that we identify that would be valuable for supporting you through the transition. And with that, I will stop sharing and turn it back over to you, Julia.
One second, it looked like my screen was being shared. Okay, now can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. Okay, so next I am going to pass things over to Dan. And actually, I realized that Dan's going to be screen sharing as well. So I should have just stayed off. But I'm going to pass things over to him now for a demo on Databricks file management and file storage. Okay, Dan, we can see you're good to go.
Perfect. All right. So there have been a few recent changes that were implemented with Databricks. And so we just wanted to discuss some of those. Some have already had some announcements put out there, but we're hoping to use this as an opportunity to clarify a few points as well, and just make sure that everyone understands what's going on. So there are 2 points. First one is the Databricks file system access updates, and then a second with the default working directory. So if you've been to the office hour or looked at office hour number 2, this may be familiar to you, but just as a diagram of the just to serve as a diagram of what's going on with Databricks as an environment. What you guys work with typically is your compute cluster, and a compute cluster has your driver node and your worker nodes. Your driver node can connect to other locations, such as like an S3 location, or it can connect to the Databricks file system. However, your worker nodes have to connect to the Databricks file system for them to directly access any data. So the Databricks file system, and this is accessed by every compute cluster. So everybody's compute clusters have access to the Databricks file system. The Databricks file system itself has 2 major divisions. You have the root directories, and then you have mount directories. Root directories, from the beginning, we've been saying that they're you don't want to store anything in there. The main reason being that everybody has access to it. The only place where you can prevent access to your data is your mount directories, because that data is protected by the S3 policies of your S3 bucket. Now to say, within the root directory, that's just everybody who has access to this Databricks environment. So you are still talking about, people who have gone through, different orgs on who have access here. So not just anybody could, but still within those realms, you don't want to put anything within the root directory. And that's why we had it shaded in red ever since the beginning of our presentations about this. The other third location that you can access for data is actually the driver node. And that's got a file system of its own. So what we're trying to draw attention to is that we've had to implement we've finally been able to implement within the root directory some specialized permissions, so that basically you can't accidentally write to that location and you can't accidentally use that location. So to clarify, the file systems, the primary purpose of the Databricks file system is to allow your worker nodes to connect to the file system and access your data. And it's, an environment-wide architecture. The primary directory types are going to be your Databricks file system root. You'll see that those usually have a directory path of dbfs:/. Although if you don't if you just go straight in with a /, it's going to default to being in that root path. Previously, everybody had full access to those paths. And now you will still be able to write to it, but everything's hidden. So you can, some of the folders, you can see a listing of what content is in there, but not even all of those. So for example, if you were to accidentally write to this path, nobody else, including yourself, could access that data. or even see that, and it's going to get sequestered and set aside. Another location within the Databricks file system root is your workspace, which most of you would be familiar with. This is your personal workspace, or your org has a workspace. It's also with the directory of dbfs or :/ You'll all still have your full default access permissions, and even with the new updated access, you still have the same. And then you also have your mounts. Mounts are going to be how you set your S3 policy, or your S3 buckets into, or integrated into the Databricks file system, so that your worker nodes can access the data directly. So you've got the Databricks file system mounts. Those will be looking with the dbfs : :/mount, and then the mount name. Or again, if you don't mention dbfs : or anything else, it will just automatically default as the dbfs. Access to those contents after you've mounted it is still going to be based on the S3 bucket policy. So for example, we'll get into this, you may see that a mount exists, but you have no access to the contents of it, listing of the contents in it, or anything like that, unless it's a policy that you belong to. Finally, your driver node. If you wanted to put something onto your driver node, there are occasions where, if you're not working with distributed data, you have to move it directly onto the driver node. You actually have to specify as a file : or file : Again, if you don't have this file portion, it's going to default thinking that you meant dbfs, and it's going to put it in the dbfs root directory. Within your driver node, you'll basically have your full permissions, because they're ephemeral, they're temporary. Once they go for like an hour without being used, they're going to shut down. And so to just clarify some of our best practices, when you use like db utils, so this is going to be like copying files or listing files or creating your mounts. There are some best practices. For your mounts, just remember your orgs are protected, and your dbfs mounts, or your S3 buckets, are going to be your go-to for all-purpose storage. Your data, your reports, your logs, that's where you want your PHI, PII content. All of that's going to be in there. Remember, mounts are perpetual and must use an environment-wide unique name. By saying that they're perpetual, it means that once I create a mount, it's going to exist forever until the entire environment has to come down, which is going to be very rare. The mount, we recommend that you mount and unmount to clear up the space, the mounts that are on there at the end of your work. However, if your team or your org has decided that they've got a single mount name that they want to leave on forever, that's up to you guys. These are just our recommended best practices. When you mount something, you're going to use the dbutils fs.mount, and then you'll put your S3 workbench path, comma, and then mnt. This one, it's just going to be your / mnt / and then whatever the unique mount name might be, whatever you want to call it. And when you unmount, it's going to be similar, but you don't need to list the S3 path. You just need to list your unique mount name. You can also view all current environment mounts by just doing a listing with the fs.mounts. I'll show you some of those in a second. Everything that goes into your dbfs workspace, which is, that other thing that we talked about that's within the root and you still have access to, ultimately it should just be your notebooks. It's not going to be, it's not built for storing data. It does not going to have that much space, and also it's not as protected and under as much control as what we have with the S3 paths, S3 buckets. Again, you can look at the listing of the contents of your workspace, either your personal workspace or your org's workspace, with this command. You can also browse it on the left side when you look at your workspace. Finally, when talking about the cluster driver nodes, those are for temporary data for non-distributed compute work. And best practices are, again, to remove data after you've completed your work. And we recommend that you put temporary files in a subdirectory of the TMP directory, but something that's kind of hard-coded is something that that you know and you can bring back out. So, for example, you can put in a file, but remember, it has to be the file : // Otherwise, it's going to think it's going to the DBFS root. Anything that, again, we can't prevent you from writing to that path in the DBFS root necessarily, but we can control that nobody else can access it. So, and it will get sequestered. Every couple hours we go through and sequester everything so that nobody at all could even find it. If for some reason you think you've copied data over to a local path and then all of a sudden you can't find it, that's likely what happened, was that it didn't have the file : and it accidentally went to the DBFS root path. I've got an example of your mounting, listing the mounts, and then an unmount. So the mount itself, it ran. When you run your listing of all mounts, you can see everybody's mounts on here, including, for example, I think mine was, what did I do it as? I did it as CRPA. Oh, I think I did it as QDAS. Anyways, you'll find them all in here. It will also show you what the S3 bucket is that it's, or S3 path that it's loading to. Again, this is going to be visible to everybody so long as you have your mount active. So if you're uncomfortable with that, there's no reason to be uncomfortable with it, honestly, because nobody can access the contents or view any of the contents. But if you just don't like that, or you want to clean up the space itself, then we recommend that you unmount. I personally prefer to unmount, just because I would forget what I have, what paths I have mounted to where. For additional resources about Databricks file system, we have more content within our office hour topic 2 that I've linked here. But also linked the comms that have gone out to our groups. So for example, this first comm that went out earlier this month, talking about the security guidance and what we've done. So if for some reason you have an error, or you're seeing an error that you don't understand, for example, you'll get like a read failure error that looks like this. You'll say, oh, no such file or directory, but you know that you've created a file. Probably happened that you accidentally put it into the root directory, which is no longer accessible. So it's not going to be able to find it for you to use. Also, we've ensured that you specify, there's no longer, we made sure to specify that when you create a table, it has to go into a predefined schema of your own. So if you don't mention a schema and where you're going to create it, it's just not going to work. And we'll show you this type of error. And so there's more along here that you can look into. And that was some guidance there on how to correct your code if you're getting something similar to that. Later on, there was another communication from our group about DBFS security guidance. And this is how it's talking about any files that are added to the Databricks file system root directory, basically outside of your mount subdirectories, they're no longer accessible. They violate our security procedures and they've been quarantined. You can request access to them if you can't recreate them. But all your approved storage locations for data is just in your S3 mounts. Going back, there was one recent change as well. I don't know if you've noticed, but if you click down and look at the runtime on your compute clusters, we've all moved up to a Databricks runtime of 14.3 with long-term support. Prior to a couple weeks ago, we were on Databricks runtime 12 point something, I forget. But in this migration, upgrading to Databricks 14, there was a change in our default assignment of the working directory. So there's a copy of the notice from Databricks up here. It used to be that you could run this function, and we had used it in some of our code previously to dynamically get wherever the current working directory is. In Databricks runtime 12, the current working directory was actually returned as a directory that was within the storage volume of your compute cluster. So again, that would be automatically deleted. Anything you put there would automatically disappear once the cluster shut down. So whether it's by not being used or somebody resetting it, you would lose access to that content. So starting in Databricks runtime 14, they changed it so that the default working directory is actually going to be the directory containing the notebook or script that you're running. So it's actually in your workspace now. Again, you know, here in prior to 14, it was fine because it was, you know, you could move data to that path because it was on the driver node. But now it's in your workspace, and you don't want data going to the workspace. So for example, some of our code that we had previously mentioned, and some people may have copied and used, we would do like an import. This is some Python script, import the OS package, and get the current working directory, and then mount that with whatever or merge that with the name of our file. And we would create like a new local path that was, you know, basically wherever the working directory was on that driver node. And then we would just copy to that. But notice that now if we were to run this, we'd be taking data or content from our S3 path and putting it, instead of being put into this into the ephemeral or the driver node, we would actually go to our workspace. So now with Databricks runtime 14, our advice is that you just hard code a destination instead of doing the get current working directory. Set it as, you know, something like, okay, I'm going to put it in the temp directory of my driver. There's actually a template type directory within the driver node of my cluster. And then, you know, I may give it a subfolder task 1. Then I'm copying my content from the S3 path to my driver node. And after I'm done with all the work, I can just run a dbutils remove of the file with a recurse equals true. This will delete all the content and including that folder name, that directory name of task 1. We do that because it's a best practice. Yes, the content of that, you put it on the driver node. Yes, the content will automatically disappear from the driver node once the cluster is shut down. However, you know, the resources of the cluster of the driver node are limited, and so if you've put a bunch of data on there, that's also still a shared resource, and so you don't want to leave that data in, you know, occupying all that space and using up those shared resources if you no longer need to. Those were just a couple of changes that we really wanted to bring to your attention. Most of these things, I think we've had communications about the Databricks file system access, but we just wanted to present it one more time. And this working directory update was a more recent discovery. Not sure if we had a chance to put a comm out on it yet. We've been developing one, but you got the preview for it. And with that, I can stop sharing.
Hey, Dan, we are moving into our Q&A portion. There was one user who did ask you to answer a question / demo for them. Would you be open to that?
What's to
It says, say I have an S3 workbench project folder with many subfolders. Do I need a separate mount for Databricks to access each folder, or can I branch down from a central mount?
Yeah, you can branch down from a central mount. It's up to you on where you want to set the mount at, and how specific the mount needs to be.
Okay, and then Derek, I know you answered a lot of the questions. Do you feel like there's any left that you feel like we should be highlighting for everyone? Maybe not.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I think it's just important to note that writing data to DBFS or trying to write data out to your workspace within Databricks is not encouraged, nor is it, I think, even possible anymore. So anything in regards to data should be written out to a database table or written out externally to your S3 workbench. And again, like Dan showed you, we do have the ability to mount your S3 workbench, so you can write to a mount on DBFS as long as it is mounted to that /mount/ whatever the name of your subdirectory is. If you're trying to write directly to mount or to a folder within mount that isn't actually mounted, it will error on you because you do not have permissions.
Okay, I have another question that just came in. Access security related question. Can we restrict who can share our org's workspace folder with users outside of our org? At present, it seems like any user can share the org folder with anyone else.
Yeah. So your workspace, your org's workspace folder, the only people who have access to it is people in your group or organization. Unless you give some sort of a shared permissions to another user or another group / organization, to a notebook, then they can see only that notebook within whatever location it is saved in that you've given access to. So there's different types of access, there's different groups. You need to be very careful with what access you're granting and to who, because you can easily give all users in the workspace access to a notebook that they would then be able to manage. Obviously, we do not want that, nor should you ever need to do that. So it just, you have the ability to share notebooks and directories within your workspace to other people or organizations, but you need to do so, only when it is okay, and making sure that, the people you're sharing it with have proper DUA and things of that nature based on the data that may be displayed within your notebook.
And to follow up on that, it's you'll see in our architecture overall, everybody is a member of your team, and every member of the team of the org has the same permissions. Nobody has more permissions than another. And that's why it's important that you're careful about, how you're sharing stuff, and what you're doing when you look at those, when you modify those permissions, or when you try to set the sharing, because again, yeah, everybody who's a member has this exact same permissions.
Can we request that you take away the sharing capability for security?
No, but
that's-
you could put it in your own personal workspace that then is under your control.
It's something we'd have to take back to the team to look at. Yeah, I guess the idea would be that, yeah, right now, no. But again, we can look into this, but it's definitely not something right now.
Is there a way to check the list of members in your group or organization?
There is. I'm trying to think if it is feasible to do from a non-admin perspective. We'll need to do a little bit of testing and researching to figure out if this is something that can be done easily for non-admins.
Your SO should have approved everybody, so your SO should
Right.
know who has
Yeah.
access.
You can easily, like, if have a HARP, Databricks HARP role for your HARP organization, then they would be in your group. So the SO could provide that. But yeah, there are ways to look at the groups. I'm just not sure if that's capability for non-admins.
Okay, I think right now that is all the questions that we have that have come through. So with that, I'm going to close out our Q&A portion for now, but obviously if anyone has any other questions, please reach out and we'll make sure to get those answered. And any questions, it looks like at this point though, we have them all answered. I know Derek and Oren were working super diligently during Dan's presentation to make sure everything got answered. But if we do find anything that has not been answered and all of the ones that have been, we'll make sure the Q&A is published in Portal once it has gone through 508 review. So I'm just going to screen share quickly so we can wrap up. Okay, so with that, that is our last presentation for today. And I know we are wrapping up a little bit early, but giving everyone a little bit of time back today. Thank you so much to our presenters for presenting. And thank you to our users and our community today for joining and participating, but also asking awesome questions. So the recording, slide content, and Q&A will be made in Portal shortly, made available in Portal shortly. Keep an eye out. We normally send a communication when everything is available, but things do start to trickle in as we get them accomplished, so you can check back there. Upcoming events, we have a maintenance event at 8 p.m. on October 4th coming up, and then our next town hall is October 25th. Actually, that date may be moved up, so keep an eye out for that. I believe that's been moved up a week.
Yeah, Julia, that's been moved to the 16th now.
Okay, that's what,
so
yeah,
that's going to be
right.
on a Wednesday, a few weeks away from now. Yep.
Okay, yep, because our data camp, our fall data camp is coming up in mid-November. So we wanted to put a little bit of distance between those, but definitely come to that next October one because we'll have more information on our fall data camp. And keep an eye out for information there. And if you have any questions or issues in the meantime, please reach out to us via Slack and email, and that contact info is there. So with that, thank you so much. Laura just shared the town hall, the updated town hall date in the chat then. So thank you, everyone. We appreciate your time and joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.